Hey guys, welcome back. I hope everyone's having a good end to their week. I did record 2 days ago today's chapters, and the video did not save, and I wanted to stick to my routine, so that's why I didn't try again yesterday. Anyways, I wanted to share some thoughts real quick before we get into today's chapters. I'm going to be very honest right now, and I just am hoping you guys will just be kind. Please don't judge me, and just like understand that up until like a year and a half ago, I did not believe in God. I'm trying to go down this journey with God, and it is difficult and it's hard, and I don't always understand everything. And so I really want to share this because I really want to know from others um, what's happened, how it's happened for you guys. So I've been reading the Bible, and up until we got to the Gospels, I've heard about, Jesus and um, what happened to him on the cross and the crucifixion and, the resurrection and what all that means about my salvation and getting to heaven. And, you see, um, you know, clips of scenes in movies and TV shows and animated clips, and people talk about how grateful they are for what Jesus did on the cross and all of this stuff, right? And how he paid for our sins and all this stuff. And so I thought this whole time reading the Bible that maybe once I actually started to read about that in the Gospels, starting in the New Testament, that maybe the weight and the deepness of that will start to hit me, right? And I'm going to be completely honest, you guys, it has not hit me. I read about it, and I still just don't, it still hasn't like hit me what it really means and what he really did for us. I have moments where I'll watch like a YouTube short or where someone's talking about it or something, or I'll read a comment or something, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, like this is real. This is big, this is a gift that God didn't have to give us, and what he went through and all of that. So I have moments where I kind of am like hit with the reality of what he really did and what it really means. But I still just don't feel like I've had that, like, I don't want to say aha moment, but like, I feel like it just hasn't fully clicked for me. And I haven't fully, I don't know, either have accepted or, like, have just felt the realness and the depth and the weight of what Jesus did on the cross, And I keep waiting, and I'm like, okay, I read about it, and it doesn't really hit me that much when I read about it in the Bible so far. And so I'm just like, okay, like, is it something that's going to hit me more gradually? Or am I going to have that aha moment where it just hits me all of a sudden and I'm like, okay, wow, like I get what you did, God. Um, so I was curious if for any of you guys, like, was it something that hit you at once? Was it something that accumulated over time and then you started to understand and actually feel that? Or am I just like, am I not allowing myself to like fully let that in because it's a lot emotionally? I have a really hard time being vulnerable, and I have a really hard time accepting any kind of love. Like, I hate to admit this, but literally the only person that I'm like really like I put my walls down for the most part with is my daughter, my 2-year old. I'm very loving with her and kiss her and love her and tell her sweet things and accept her love when she gives it to me. And even sometimes I find myself kind of having a little hard time with it because I've had a lot happen to me, and it's made me very distrusting of everyone and a very hard time taking in love. And I like give love, but not like that. Like, it's still very at a distance. Like, even with my husband, who's the second closest person besides my daughter that I've ever actually fully kind of like more let him in. Even sometimes when he tries to hug me or kiss me, I'm just like, don't touch me, please. And I hate that. I hate that so much. I want to fix that. I don't want that. So I wonder if part of it is too is just me, and I'm not allowing myself to fully letting God, you know, maybe love me. I don't know. And so when I see people talk about Jesus and what he did on the cross for us and stuff like that, I wonder if subconsciously, if maybe a part of me is like not wanting to let the full weight of it hit me, because I know it might probably will be a little overwhelming. Or I could be wrong. Maybe that's just a piece of it, or maybe that has nothing to do with it. Maybe maybe God just hasn't, sorry, I thought I saw a bug. Maybe God will hit me with, you know, the realness of it and the depth of it another day. I don't know. I really don't know. I have been wanting to watch the movie The Passion of the Christ, because I'm a much more of a visual learner than anything. And I'm wondering if maybe if I watch that movie, maybe it'll help me get a little bit more of an understanding of what, about Jesus and what he did and everything. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's a movie. I have to take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure there's never going to be a perfect show or movie out there that's going to live up to everyone's expectations in accordance to the Bible. That's just impossible. But I do think that it might help. So I'm going to try to watch that tomorrow with my husband, because he's been wanting to watch it as well. But I keep telling him no, because I wanted to wait till the Gospels in the Bible. Well, I'm here now, and I'm still just, I don't know. I just feel like something's off, and I'm not sure what it is. And so that's why I was like wondering if you guys could let me know in the comments, like, was it something that happened to you suddenly and you were hit with the reality and depth and weight of what Jesus did? Was it a gradual thing that happened for you over time? I would love to know, because I definitely just I just feel like, I don't know, like there's a disconnect and I don't know what it is. So please let me know. And that's that. I'll be quiet. Sorry. Let's get into today's chapters. I'm praying that this saves, because I really don't want to keep trying. My app that I use to make these videos, sometimes the videos don't save when I'm done recording. When I hit the finish button, it just freezes and doesn't go to the next screen. It's frustrating, but this is the best way to make these videos. So I just have to re-record again. So hopefully this works.
Now on the first day of unleavened bread, when they killed the Passover lamb, his disciples said to him, "Where do you want us to go and prepare, that you may eat the Passover?" And he sent out 2 of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the city, and a man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him. Wherever he goes in, say to the master of the house, 'The teacher says, where is the guest room in which I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' Then he will show you a large upper room, furnished and prepared. There make ready for us." So his disciples went out and came into the city, and found it just as he had said to them, and they prepared the Passover. In the evening he came with the 12. Now as they sat and ate, Jesus said, "Assuredly I say to you, one of you who eats with me will betray me." And they began to be sorrowful, and to say to him one by one, "Is it I?" And another said, "Is it I?" He answered and said to them, "It is one of the 12, who dips with me in the dish. The Son of Man indeed goes just as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been good for that man if he had never been born." And as they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them, and said, "Take, eat. This is my body." Then he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank from it. And he said to them, "This is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many. Assuredly I say to you, I will no longer drink of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God." And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, "All of you will be made to stumble because of me this night, for it is written, 'I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered.' But after I have been raised, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter said to him, "Even if all are made to stumble, yet I will not be." Jesus said to him, "Assuredly I say to you that today, even this night, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." But he spoke more vehemently, "If I have to die with you, I will not deny you." And they all said likewise. Then they came to a place which was named Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took Peter, James, and John with him, and he began to be troubled and deeply distressed. Then he said to them, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch." He went a little farther and fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will." Then he came and found them sleeping, and said to Peter, "Simon, are you sleeping? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Again he went away and prayed, and spoke the same words. And when he returned, he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. Then he came the 3rd time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? It is enough. The hour has come. Behold, the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." And immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, with a great multitude with swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now his betrayer had given them a signal, saying, "Whomever I kiss, he is the one. Seize him and lead him away safely." As soon as he had come, immediately he went up to him and said to him, "Rabbi, Rabbi," and kissed him. Then they laid their hands on him and took him. And one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Then Jesus answered and said to them, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to take me? I was daily with you in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But the scriptures must be fulfilled." Then they all forsook him and fled. Now a certain young man followed him, having a linen cloth thrown around his naked body. And the young men laid hold of him, and he left the linen cloth and fled from them naked. And they led Jesus away to the high priest, and with him were assembled all the chief priests, the elders, and the scribes. But Peter followed him at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest, and he sat with the servants and warmed himself at the fire. Now the chief priests and all the council sought testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but found none, for many bore false witness against him, but their testimonies did not agree. Then some rose up and bore false witness against him, saying, "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this temple made with hands, and within 3 days I will build another made without hands.' But not even then did their testimony agree. And the high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, saying, 'Do you answer nothing? What is it these men testify against you?' But he kept silent and answered nothing. Again the high priest asked him, saying to him, 'Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?' Jesus said, 'I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of heaven.' Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, 'What further need do we have of witnesses? You have heard the blasphemy. What do you think?' And they all condemned him to be deserving of death. Then some began to spit on him, and to blindfold him, and to beat him, and to say to him, 'Prophesy!' And the officers struck him with the palms of their hands. Now as Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came. And when she saw Peter warming himself, she looked at him and said, 'You also were with Jesus of Nazareth.' But he denied it, saying, 'I neither know nor understand what you are saying.' And he went out on the porch, and a rooster crowed. And the servant girl saw him again, and began to say to those who stood by, 'This is one of them.' But he denied it again. And a little later, those who stood by said to Peter again, 'Surely you are one of them, for you are a Galilean, and your speech shows it.' Then he began to curse and swear, 'I do not know this man of whom you speak.' A second time, the rooster crowed. Then Peter called to mind the word that Jesus had said to him, 'Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times.' And when he thought about it, he wept. Immediately, in the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council. And they bound Jesus, led him away, and delivered him to Pilate. Then Pilate asked him, 'Are you the king of the Jews?' He answered and said to him, 'It is as you say.' And the chief priests accused him of many things, but he answered nothing. Then Pilate asked him again, saying, 'Do you answer nothing? See how many things they testify against you.' But Jesus still answered nothing, so that Pilate marveled. Now at the feast, he was accustomed to releasing one prisoner to them, whomever they requested. And there was one named Barabbas, who was chained with his fellow rebels. They had committed murder in the rebellion. Then the multitude, crying aloud, began to ask him to do just as he had always done for them. But Pilate answered them, saying, 'Do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?' For he knew that the chief priests had handed him over because of envy. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd so that he should rather release Barabbas to them. Pilate answered and said to them again, 'What then do you want me to do with him, whom you call the King of the Jews?' So they cried out again, 'Crucify him!' Then Pilate said to them, 'Why, what evil has he done?' But they cried out all the more, 'Crucify him!' So Pilate, wanting to gratify the crowd, released Barabbas to them, and he delivered Jesus, after he had scourged him, to be crucified. Then the soldiers led him away into the hall called Praetorium, and they called together the whole garrison. And they clothed him with purple, and they twisted a crown of thorns, put it on his head, and began to salute him, 'Hail, King of the Jews!' Then they struck him on the head with a reed, and spat on him, and bowing the knee, they worshipped him. And when they had mocked him, they took the purple off him, put his own clothes on him, and led him out to crucify him. Then they compelled a certain man, Simon, a Cyrenian, the father of Alexander and Rufus, as he was coming out of the country and passing by, to bear his cross. And they brought him to the place Golgotha, which is translated, place of a skull. Then they gave him wine mingled with myrrh to drink, but he did not take it. And when they crucified him, they divided his garments, casting lots for them to determine what every man should take. Now it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him. And the inscription of his accusation was written above, "The King of the Jews." With him they also crucified 2 robbers, one on his right and the other on his left. So the scripture was fulfilled, which says, "And he was numbered with the transgressors." And those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads and saying, "Aha! You who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." Likewise, the chief priests also, mocking among themselves with the scribes, said, "He saved others. Himself he cannot save. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe." Even those who were crucified with him reviled him. Now when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which is translated, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Some of those who stood by, when they heard that, said, "Look, he is calling for Elijah." Then someone ran and filled a sponge full of sour wine, put it on a reed, and offered it to him to drink, saying, "Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come to take him down." And Jesus cried out with a loud voice and breathed his last. Then the veil of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom. So when the centurion who stood opposite him saw that he cried out like this and breathed his last, he said, "Truly this man was the Son of God." There were also women looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the Less, and of Joses, and Salome, who also followed him and ministered to him when he was in Galilee, and many other women who came up with him to Jerusalem. Now when evening had come, because it was the preparation day, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a prominent council member, who was himself waiting for the kingdom of God, coming and taking courage, went in to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Pilate marveled that he was already dead, and summoning the centurion, he asked him if he had been dead for some time. So when he found out from the centurion, he granted the body to Joseph. Then he bought fine linen, took him down, and wrapped him in the linen. And he laid him in a tomb, which had been hewn out of the rock, and rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. And Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of Joses observed where he was laid.
So, couple things. First, when they offered him a drink or something that had something, I don't know what, it was like wine and myrrh, but he declined it. What is myrrh? I've heard that before, but I just feel like that's such a tiny detail that obviously it was mentioned for a reason. And then the part where it says Eloi, in the book of Matthew, if I recall correctly, it that first part was Eli, E-L-I, not E-L-O-I. Why is there a difference in this book and that book if Jesus is saying the same thing? And then I've been reading the Psalm, I think it's like 22, which is referenced where Jesus is referencing when he says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And I find it really interesting every time I go and read it. I I feel like God is trying to tell us something, like when he references that psalm. I feel like there's multiple things he's trying to tell us. And I feel like every time I read it, I'm starting to like kind of understand more and more pieces, but I'm not quite like 100% there yet, which I mean, who knows if I'll even ever become 100%, but it's very interesting. Um, and then trying to think what else. I'm still just really confused about the veil being torn. Like, I don't know why that just, I'm like, I want to know more. I want to understand more about that. And then, last thing I'll say before I finish, recently I was watching a YouTube video of a Catholic talking to, I don't know what they are. He was calling him Father, um, whatever that is, like a rabbi, or I'm not sure what his title is. Anyways, he was saying that there was like a famous thing that happened somewhere where a bunch of people saw Mary, the mother of Jesus. And people in the comments were like, people don't like, that's not biblical. And then some people were refuting that and saying, well, Moses and who was it? Moses and one other person actually, like, Jesus, when he was on that like mountain or hill or something, and Moses and the other person showed up and he was talking with them, and a couple of his disciples saw, and then all of a sudden, a few moments later, they disappeared. And then there's also in the book of Matthew, when it talks about the veil being torn, it said that a bunch of saints, I don't know, came alive and were roaming around the city and appeared to a bunch of people. Didn't say for how long or anything like that. So people were using that as like, when Moses and the other person showed up and was talking to Jesus, they were using that to defend the possibility of them seeing Mary, the mother of Jesus. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, I thought it's like pretty clear that once you pass on, you pass on. And any, you know, people from that have died that are human that you think you may have saw is just, the devil and his little workers, you know, playing tricks on you. So I was just kind of confused because that thing that they were referencing really did happen because it said it in the Bible. So I was like, that's a really good point. But at the same time, like, at what boundaries and what levels does that happen? Because both times Jesus was present. So, and alive. Like, I don't know. It's very confusing. Anyways, well, that's all I have to share today. I really, really hope you guys help me out in the comments with my questions and also just what I talked about in the beginning, because I really, really, really would love to know just how that's happened for you guys and how you really just let the reality of what Jesus did for us, how you came to terms with that or let that in, or how that hit you, or just I don't know. I'm just really curious. So thank you, and I will see you guys in 2 days for some more chapters. Good night.